All right. I think the chiming bell means the record button is going, and today is May the 1st, which is hard to believe, the first day of May in 2020. And I'm here with Mallory in our virtual hangout room to talk a little bit about multimedia ebooks with Book Creator. And I don't actually think I'm going to go through all of these slides because Mallory is a very experienced book creator teaching book creator using teacher. But I do want to share a little bit about some new things that have kind of happened since we did a workshop about this in March of 2019. So it's been a while. But Book Creator, to me, I think this was at maybe our workshop, we brainstormed, why make ebooks? It's just such a great project because it lets you bring different kinds of media together. And even though it is a digital format, you can still print it. I mean, by the way, we wouldn't want to probably do that just on our color printers at school, but we've done that, with our seniors in Miss Finley's creative writing class to actually get, for like $12, these books printed in a true book format. But I think it's really powerful because it is a format that we're familiar with, yet it's new as far as the media. So this is the page that I wanted to definitely share with Mallory and let everybody know about, because the last maybe 3 years, I've had an opportunity to work with different teachers using Book Creator. And this last year, we went ahead and created a website. This is a Google site, and it's just studentauthors.cassidy.org, because we're continuing to do this year after year, want to share the resources, and then also want to amplify the great work our students are doing. So here under the library tab, you can go all the way back to 2018. And I think that was the first year that Whitney and I collaborated. She's been doing this project where her seniors in creative writing, create these wonderful picture books. And one of the stories that she tells is, I think there was one year that at Kinko's, maybe somebody actually had to pay over $100 to get their book printed. And it was the only copy of it, which was, terrible because it cost so much and there was only one. And so these have been created in Book Creator. Lulu is the place where we've put them for print on demand. And you can see like $6.25, $5.75. These are all, basically under $10. And then they, you pay shipping. The shipping's almost as much. Now, one of the things that's really cool about Book Creator, and Mallory, you may have done this too, is they now have the ability for you to publish your books in an online library. So these are the 2020 seniors from Whitney's class. This year, she had all of them as a requirement, because in the past it was optional, record their voice. And so you can, and this is so much faster and easier than what we were doing before, because before we were having to, create a Google document. And actually, I guess maybe this one of Peyton's doesn't have her voice. I said that. I think that most of them do. Yeah, there you go. So.
In the sunny land of Catalonia Academy Playground.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, and so anyway, I won't go through, but it's just so cool how this library is available and people can click on that and hear those books. So on this website, we have a page for creating ebooks, which I'll go ahead and replace this slideshow. I made a few updates and changes from this version that we had done a while back. But then there's some videos that we have about the publishing process, and then how we take it in that case from the Book Creator website, and we go to Lulu. The other thing, and Mallory, this might even be of interest to you, as your students might be doing some ebooks at the end of the year, is we found some of these helpful websites. And so this one is really great to remove an image background. And so you can just drop a picture, and this is free to do a lower resolution, but it works. When you're going to put on when you're going to put a book, like a picture like this, that you want to have not square. And so this is a transparent image that has this lovely cat, and it doesn't have, it's not a rectangle. So you need to use what's called a transparent PNG image. And so anyway, that this website, remove.bg, we found works really, really well. We also found that the newer iPhones, which may or may not be in play, but with if parents or sometimes the kids have the newer one, it actually takes it in this format called HEIC. And so
Oh, yeah.
this is a free website that will make that into a JPEG, because in order to put your your image in Book Creator, you have to have it as a JPEG or a PNG. You can't directly take this HEIC image and put it in there. So anyway, that was really good. And then a couple other ones that we put in here in terms of editing. There are some free online. There's this Pixlr is a free online image editor for students that wanted to do a little bit of editing. They can use that one for free, and then they could also, if they have a Windows or a Mac laptop, GIMP is free, and then we also now have access to Adobe Creative Cloud, which mostly we have upper division students, but there's some lower division students that have had access to that. So anyway, those are a few things that I wanted to mention. And I guess the last thing is I would love here in the library to list more books. So I've got some of the third grade projects that Ms. Hensley and Ms. Fryer did a couple years ago.
Okay, yeah.
And that was back before they had the availability of just saying, hey, share your whole library. So we were making these Google Docs, and then linking to the books in order to get them to show up. So a couple things that I wanted to share. So let me ask you, when did you start using Book Creator? And, why have you found it to be an exciting and positive project? Because you were just saying that your kids are pretty fired up about it.
Yes. So I just moved to fifth grade geography this year, and I have been looking for ways for them to do some projects online, and honestly kind of cut down on the paper copying and things like that. And so I started with my first project this year with the kids. They were learning about different types of government. And so I had them each, randomly, they picked a government type, and then they created a story that had to have like a protagonist going through and experiencing the government and what it's like to be a part of that government. And so I told them, of course, it had to be like kind of PG, because one of them was a dictatorship. And so we kind of had to, cross lines there, here or there. And ideally, I wanted them to be able to share these books with their second grade buddies. Like when we do kind of like Read Across America Day, we were trying to give them more choices of like things to read out loud with their buddies.
That's fantastic. Did it work out? So they were able to do that with their second graders?
Yes, so we were able to, and Mrs. Scoville also had a book project too going on that she had them bring. Some of the students were nervous about reading their books, which is okay. We did print out some black and white copies of some of the books, and then other ones we had some iPads. We were able to go through some of the iPads and upload, had our libraries open, and they could select their book and kind of read it with their buddies.
That is awesome. Well, we didn't get this pulled off this year, but the last 2 years, Whitney Finley and I have talked about this, and then we had all of our COVID, coronavirus remote learning, but we were talking about having an end-of-year celebration for authors. And that was part of the thinking of making that website student authors, because this is a great project. It can be for so many different reasons. I mean, just like what you're saying about having a protagonist and writing a creative story that ties to government, right? Like that's interdisciplinary and engaging kids, and not just thinking about the social studies in that context, but having a way for us to celebrate what our students have made, and then also get in thinking about being an author, because of course, this is a thing. They can be authors. They are authors. I mean, they're writing books now. They could write books, and be paid for them. But there's all kinds of ways to be able to do that. So, is this the first? So this is your second year to move to geography, to middle division, isn't it?
This is my first year.
Doesn't it? It feels like it's been.
It feels like so long. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So one of the things that we talked about, and maybe we can even look at on the Book Creator website, is the money side of this. One of the things that I've been working with Jeremy and with Sandy Nelson, our curriculum coordinator, and others are talking about the different digital curriculum plans, all of that kind of stuff. And so here I've created this library, And so, yeah, this is actually, I think, the one that we did for Miss Finley, because last year we used her library. This year I hadn't done one now, and she is, not having all the kids in the grade level, so there's fewer. So we've been kind of working around the payment option. When you want to add a co-teacher, you have to have a paid plan, and so this is what the paid plans look like at this point. So for $5 a teacher per month, then you can have up to 180 books, and you can have them in 3 libraries, and you can collaborate between teachers. And then if you step up to $10 per month, then you can have 1,000 books. But I think we need to have conversations about this, because did you say that I guess maybe the history department had paid for one of those upgrades for you?
Yes. So I asked, and I looked at buying, kind of everyone a book first and see if they could we could just create their books in class. And we decided, no, let's stick with the online. The kids seem to enjoy that a lot more. And so we kind of determined which plan. The 180 would kind of get me through, because I wanted to do one more big project with the kids, and I did. And so 180 got us there. But looking more, it's like, yeah, I'm ready to do something else with it too. So,
and we have more teachers. I'm excited that that you're doing this, and that Ms. Scoville is, and this is part of the reason I want to share it, because yesterday we talked about Explain Everything, and I told a story that I think I've done 21 iPad media camps since 2014. With all the apps and all of that, like the 3 apps I just get the most excited about are Explain Everything, Seesaw, and Book Creator. And especially Explain Everything and Book Creator, it's like whatever you teach, your students could create a project that fits inside a book and, involves text, involves images. What have you found to be some of the challenges because are your students, I would think, probably almost 100% Chromebook, or because were they in class, or were they doing some at home? What did it look like platform wise? And then what were some of the challenges that your 5th graders were having?
Let's see. So at this time, I hadn't done anything since we've come this remote learning. So everything was done through the Chromebooks, and I always made sure we used the nicest cart available that had the touch screen, so that the students, I always just made sure I planned ahead to get that cart so the students could bring like a stylus or something, because there was the option in Book Creator where you could, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the magic pen where you start drawing the object and then it shows it up, and so they always like doing that. But you needed
with a pencil on the screen though, because I didn't know, because those stylus. Some of those Chromebooks, I think, will let you use a regular number 2 pencil as a stylus, I think.
And I feel like someone tried it once and they didn't necessarily work. So then the next day they brought their own stylus from home, okay, and used it in class that way. And so,
were they drawing their own pictures, or were they using it to sort of crop pictures and edit them? How are they using the stylus?
Kind of both. So that originally I was showing them the magic pen where it could help them draw things that were already, because some of them were worried about, okay, so if we were trying to get images and we didn't want to find what we wanted on Unsplash, like some of those free websites, and trying to take those pictures, and they didn't want to cite their photos, obviously to give credit, so they wanted to just hand-free draw. So some of them took the way where they hand drew them on pictures, and we took pictures and inserted it, and then others used kind of like that magic pen, and they created their scene.
That's the auto draw. That's when they the
auto draw
flower, and it makes a flower, right?
Yes. So they loved that. So they had a lot of fun, drawing different things, and it was funny because they just wanted a person or something, and they ended up getting people in yoga poses and things like that. I mean, it was really kind of fun to see what would actually come up if they started to draw. Right. And then some of them hand drew their own pictures, and they looked about as good as you could do on a Chromebook. But so that was really good. That's why I kind of had the touchscreen Chromebooks is what we used. I wasn't able to get the iPads from the library. There was testing and going on, so it wasn't enough where I could have a class set for everyone to use.
But I think that's
And
probably good. I mean, one of the things Whitney and I have learned, because we've had kids in the past, we basically left it open. You want to use an iPad, you want to use laptop. I mean, it's just so nice when all the books are together in that library and you
yes.
see them as they progress, because if not, you don't get to see that student's work on their iPad unless they show it to you. And
Mm-hmm.
this was the first year that we just said, okay, everybody, we're doing it in the browser. Everybody use
Yeah.
Chrome. Use whatever computer you have. But this was the first year that we did that. So.
And yeah, and they enjoyed it and liked it. They, in fact, I moved on and did a culture menu project where they were able to do some more different types of books for me, and so they really liked that. They liked where they could record themselves. Not a lot of them. We ended up not having time to kind of like record ourselves, but they loved just getting to kind of like, I kind of set a limit. Hey, let's only do a 10-page book, and then some of them obviously ended up being way more because they got into it, and it just. Yeah, it's about time too. Like, what do you have time for?
And something Eric Sappington and I have talked about, and some others too, is this idea of a portfolio in middle division that would even, go from year to year. And I think a book creator project might be an ideal kind of thing for them to include in that. Because I'll just try to say it as possibly as possible. One of the opportunities that I think we have at Cassidy is to really amplify that kind of work and then share it beyond the classroom and even the grade level. One of the comments that some teachers have made in some of the workshops is like, it's so refreshing, to be learning with some people outside their normal department or grade level. And so I hope we can find some ways to do that. So are all your books basically then tied to your Cassidy account and that upgraded account that you had?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Have you experimented making that library? So that online library that has them shared with you?
No, I haven't, which would be really nice because then, when I talked about it, like in their progress notes or something, their parents could have access and they could actually see what I was talking about.
Absolutely. Let me show you really quick. I'll go into my library because that is how we created this one. So this is actually a library, created from my account. And so when I'm here in Book Creator, I'll get out of this upgrade menu, and you go down to the share menu, you've got a button here or a choice that will say publish online. And this one has been published online. Let me create a new book, just as an example. Now, one of the things also that we found, if you do want to take it to the print level, basically it's we usually find, I like the portrait the best, but usually it's best to either do portrait or square as the two formats.
And that's what I kind of recommended to my kids. Yeah, stick with those two, because that was my goal, was to try to get them printed and things. And so I only ended up, before everything happened, like the ones I wanted printed, like didn't. Yeah, we ran out of the big paper because the book format and things.
Right.
How to get it down.
Yep. Let's see, what kind of pictures do I have here? I don't know, whatever. We'll just pull this in. So I've just got, there's one of my info pics. Our kids were using the responsible use policy and making info pics. So we can put whatever text and everything that we want. But then when we get out of the book and we come here, we click on the share button, and that's where we have the choice to say publish online. And so it does happen to have a title. So I'll actually delete this when I'm done because it would go into this library. But I go ahead and click publish book. So now there is this public share link, and that's something that you could share with a parent. You could, put that into a official comment or email or whatever, and that just directly goes to that book. You also have the option of, I think it's up here, of publishing the entire library. And so there it is. So I have chosen to make this entire library of books available. And then also to, this is the settings that, and I probably will end up turning these off. So once they're done, it sort of locks it up. I can say, nope, students can't edit. I like to leave the choice that they can read each other's. This is an interesting thing for archive because once it's archived, I wonder if you get another 180 books. Have you looked at that yet?
And I haven't figured that out. And I really wish the organization behind it, I'm still working on, because I wanted to, I wish I kept each library based on their, like the project that I was doing, because I ended up having to do, oh, this is our, government picture book library, but then I had to add some of their culture menu ones in there so I could get enough students to get enough books. And so, like, not everything is, I wish it was organized a little bit better, but I tried to use what resources I had, just so everyone could get the opportunity to do what they wanted to.
Well, maybe this is something that I can, not only work with our division leadership with, but also talking with Sandy, because it's interesting. This is technology, but it's really curriculum. And it's actually almost supplies, right? These are almost like instructional materials, which we have budget for. And this is something that a lot of schools, are struggling with. And even I know states like Texas, for their public schools, they reclassified maybe 10 years ago instructional materials, so it could include digital, because just like you want to have, colored pencils and paper and whatever for students, you need to have digital stuff. So in addition to helping with maybe the payment and getting that part of it worked out for you, is there anything else you can think of that might help either me or the school help support you in your use of eBooks and these kinds of projects and things that occurs to you?
I'm trying to think. It's really helpful to know that you can have like co-teachers now on that, because like Mrs. Scoville and I are definitely looking at what can we do to collaborate, and we've talked about next year. And I'm already thinking in my head, oh, I think I have a project for us that could work for both classes, and they could have it open and going on at the same time. But it's just knowing that those options are out there, and I think just knowing the different types of projects that people could do, like hey, I bet I can figure something out to go with like the science class, or they could do a human parts of the body, human digestive information book and things like that.
Well, I'd love to find ways, and it may be through the grade level meetings. I mean, I got to be at the first grade team meeting of the year this last week. It's just because I'm always teaching, during those times when we're in school. But I know earlier in the year when I had, earlier groups of fifth graders, you all were studying the Antilles, and we were doing a scratch animation. And so we were talking about, well, guys, if you want to, that whole thing of tying themes together or using skills that we've learned in one place. And so maybe we can creatively think about and talk to Jason and Sarah, sharing some of what you and Mindy have done and encouraging other teachers to just try that as a project, because I think a book project somehow can feel a little more approachable and doable than a lot of other words. And maybe it's because we're familiar with the word book. But I think the improvements, as much as I love the iPad and I've loved Book Creator on the iPad, and I still do, from a teacher standpoint and facilitating the project, I've loved being able to have the library together, and just the fact that it makes it makes the work so much more visible in terms of what students are doing. And then it also helps me as as a coach or a facilitator for teachers, being able to come alongside. So maybe I'll do that. I'll take that as a homework assignment from today. That I'll add that to our list about, how can we, we'll think creatively about getting through this next, part of the year. But the archiving part would be good, because ideally, when you archive it, it's still there. It's just that we edit it and stuff. I mean, because that would be ideal. It's kind of like Seesaw and Google Classroom. Once you're done with that term, you archive it, it's there, but you don't go in and make any kind of changes. So I'll find out if that's the case with the archive, because that would sure be terrific if it just like, now you get 180 more, and you can start to use those. And the other thing is that it's possible to download them. So I don't know if
and that's what I was going to say, downloading. I've been trying to do some of the better examples and trying to download them. So I'm like, oh, okay, I need to use this for next year just as a sample, but I don't want to lose it. What if losing access to the library?
I would be happy to help you with that, because just like on that student authors page, where we have some of those third grade projects that those kids did. I think it would be great if you wanted to have a couple examples, because I find that to be a wonderful thing year to year once we've done a project. It's like there's a compromise between, if you show some kids a project, they'll be like, oh, great, I'm going to just copy that. And you're like, no, I want you to be creative and not just copy me. But on the other hand, it can really help them get a concrete picture. Oh, that's the possibility. And in some cases, raise their expectation, or, it's just so helpful. And especially to see a project that was done by another Cassidy, 5th grader or 3rd grader or 12th grader or whatever like that. So.
Yeah, because I found, so like, for example, we did a culture menu project, and one of their items they got to pick, they got a whole list to choose from, is you got to make a cookbook. And we were doing the continent of Asia. And so they've had a country, every student had their own country, and some of them were making cookbooks. And so we made them a book creator. And some of them had never seen a cookbook. They had no idea what a format for a cookbook, that you have to include the ingredients, a picture of the dish, and like cooking instructions. And then like linking where you got your resources from. I mean, it was like a whole new experience for them.
And what's fun about those kind of projects too, is it can be something where everybody will do one and then you'll combine them. I know it's critical that the students pick the same format. So like sticking with that first format, because you can't combine in Book Creator, books that are from different aspect ratios or different formats. But when Rachel was in 3rd grade, I went to a conference and got an iPad and ended up, donating it to the class that year. And they created a book, and every child, it was called Our Favorite Books, but everybody shared a little bit about their book, and they had a little paragraph, and they drew a picture, and they recorded their voice. But I mean, those kind of projects are really neat as well, that are the collaborative, media projects that we do together. So let me know if I can help you.
Yeah.
Archive.
I'm thinking actually, to end the year of making a book creator about each class and doing kind of like an A to Z book, where, hey, you tell me something, everyone, takes a page and you fill it up with things that you learned, about the letter B. What geography things could be related, and we all make a book together.
Have you played with Flipgrid yet?
I haven't. So that's on my list of, hey, I want to do that for, especially if we're looking at remote learning next year.
I'm going to do a workshop next week on Flipgrid. I have
perfect.
And I've used it for professional development. Like this last summer, I went to Rhode Island to this Digital Literacy Institute. They had us reflect every day on what our takeaways were. And in that case, we were privately sharing them. I've just done one assignment on Flipgrid for my 5th and 6th graders. But what is so fantastic is that you put that prompt out there. They can use a phone, they can use a tablet, they can use their computer, but it allows you to make what they call a mixtape. In fact, Shelly and I were just talking, because she wants the students to be able to do some kind of end of year reflection. And she was like, maybe they'll email them to me or whatever. It's like, no, Flipgrid, because it bring them all together and she can decide what order to put them in. And it even makes the video. But I was thinking about the book, because you can download those individual videos. So if you wanted to, I mean, you could end up with kind of a summative book of some of our memories, or some of my projects. But anyway, that is the easiest way to collect video from a bunch of students. And so anyway, that might be something to think about, because this is where I think all this remote learning and the learning curve that we've had, which has been very steep, I think is going to really benefit us no matter what next year looks like, because like we've learned about so many different, tools and ways.
Right.
How do you,
especially with art classes, using, I can even see that using as an exit ticket, for the day or something, is, hey, respond to this prompt or things just like that. Or, hey, for our rising 5th graders, what's some advice? Normally we would have those 4th graders come through and they get to ask questions.
That's great. We could do that. We could ask the 4th graders to ask questions, and then we could share that mixtape with 5th grade and say, 5th graders, can you respond to them? I love that.
So I think that would be really helpful. I think Mrs. Scoville kind of mentioned that, and shout out to her for definitely wanting to, connect with those 4th graders. But like normally we have them ask us questions and, hey, have the student's perspective, answer them honestly. How's homework different from middle division, and things like that. So the
other thing that's nice about it is that it does let you moderate that. So as the teachers, you can, feel like, that one we may not exactly, we may
not use that question. Yeah.
we're going to do. What was I going to ask? Something else about just the end of year stuff. Have you guys talked about portfolio? Has there been some conversation about portfolios as far as having kids put things together that they've done throughout the year?
Well, and I'm trying to think, so Whitney was trying to do the magazine, the middle division magazine, I had some things that I was going to submit for kids that they've done really well on, like part of their culture menu. One of the options was to make a comic strip about a culture or tradition from a country. And I had some, the red envelopes from China. I had some students beautifully drawn, and I know it's lunch. We'll be finished. I'm finishing. Hey, I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay. And so we, but yeah, submitting things like that, and so that they could be a part of a magazine and continue on. But we're currently trying to figure out, are we going to give an end of the year we're in limbo a little bit right now, I would say. Okay. So.
Well, I'll be happy to brainstorm with you all, and thank you so much for coming. I'm going to share this on our Genius Bar page. The last thought. Okay, this almost got launched, but Danielle Sappington and I met with Jason and Sarah a couple weeks ago talking about enrichment. And when she was at Bethany, had a whole Google Classroom that was enrichment for the kids. But we were talking about how they could then share with more folks. And so we were talking about maybe a seesaw that had a blog, but like maybe that's something for next year we can work out where kids can share their projects. A way that they can do that, because when you have those kinds of projects that kids are super proud of and they want to share, it's like you want to put that on a pedestal, shine a light on it, celebrate it, and give them a chance to be in the spotlight beyond, just in class and stuff. So maybe that's something we could even do that would involve more than just fifth grade, but it could involve. But I love that idea about the fourth and the fifth grade question. So let's talk to Cindy and see if maybe that's something we couldn't facilitate with fourth grade. Because I think the fourth grade teachers would love that too, because it's just there's things out on that are important, and it's not that we can fully replicate them. But I mean, one of the things I've learned using media is sometimes you hear from kids that surprise you, and you hear things that like maybe they wouldn't have just had the confidence to say or whatever in class. Maybe this can be something too where that happens.
Yeah, because Mindy and I, we're working on our summer read, and so I just made a video of myself kind of talking about their summer read stuff, and I'm thinking I won't even get to see them in person, but I want them to know who I am, so making a little screencast to go with my assignment so they can click on it and see me and, get to know me ahead of time. And so, yeah, it's good things.
Definitely. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording, and everybody reach out to Mallory if you've got questions about book creation. We're going to continue to just share this so that hopefully we will, generate more interest and excitement, and ultimately, help our kids develop their literacy skills, because it's a great way to learn content as well as a whole host of literacy skills.